and lied. I mean, Geninda, being 50-50 about a situation says there's uncertainty. So Makeleni is now an expert in age determination. There's a link between suspects and the people in the house, yet you never bothered to question where those pictures actually came from. Now, there's a difference between comparison and altering, Kinind. If you're comparing pictures, you put one this side, you put one this side, and you compare. You specifically asked Steenkamp to alter and add dreadlocks and add a hoodie on Danzi's ID picture. A gun with the wheel doesn't need you to have experience in guns, which is crazy business because we're at the end of our case and only now do we find out that there are other people that implicate the accused. Come on now.
And I'm bad like the Barbie. I'm a doll, but I still wanna party. I'm ready to bend. I'm a 10, so I pull an exam. Like Daddy, Stacy, all of the Barbies is pretty. Damn, all of the Barbies is bad.
Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Nogwazi Ntombela, also known as Kwazi Bear on all social media platforms. Do subscribe, be a part of this family, and if you're a returning subby, welcome back, darling. Now, as you know, guys, I bring you weekly updates in the Senzo Meyiwa trial, and I'm here to do exactly that. Guys, it seems like the closer we get to December, the shorter our weeks are in this case, and it's really frustrating the hell out of me. So without wasting too much of your time, let us get into the proceedings. So this week was very, very short because Geninda was writing exams on Monday and Tuesday. So the proceedings continued on Wednesday, the 13th of November. Now, the first thing that they touched on Wednesday when they returned is the issue of accused number 3 having communication with Kelly Kumalo. Now, if you remember last week when we adjourned, Geninda gave an indication that there was some communication that was referred to by Colonel Steyn that said that accused number 3 was in contact with Kelly Kumalo. However, according to the evidence that Steyn led, the only communication that was found between the accused and the people that were in the house was the 2 calls between accused number 5 and Kelly Kumalo, which were very questionable because they were not appearing in Pinky Vithellingham's 205s. So Mnisi then questioned which statement actually refers to the communication between Kelly and accused number 3, and that statement was not found, but the state did indicate that they will be looking into it and will provide the defense with such statement if it is found. When Ramasipili continued with his cross-examination, he touched on the issue of which witnesses that were in the house referred to the revolver as being the gun that they saw at the house, and Ukininda does indicate that there were about 3 witnesses that were in that house that alluded to the fact that it was a revolver that was carried by the intruder. The first one being Ukeli Kumalo, who in her statement clearly says it was a revolver that was carried by the first intruder. The second witness is Ulongwe, who also says it was a 38 special. And then the third witness being Utumelo Madlala. However, Utumelo Madlala, in his statement, it says a revolver, but he later did clarify that he didn't say a revolver because he has no knowledge of guns. He had said it's a gun with the wheel. So now my understanding of this is, if I come to you and I explain a certain gun, yes, I may not be a person who knows gun, but because I'm explaining to a person who has knowledge of guns, the description that I give would allow you to actually know what type of gun I am referring to. The funniest things that I heard Geninda responding to with regards to the witnesses that were in the house, when it comes to the explanation of the revolver, he says none of the witnesses have gun licenses, so they don't know what they're talking about. So you're telling me if I tell you what I saw, because I don't have a license in guns, my description cannot be accurate? I mean, a gun with the wheel doesn't need you to have experience in guns in order for you to be able to explain that. I was just like, Geninda, where are you going with this? Another aspect that Ramasipili touched on Wednesday was the issue of the runaway phone of Kelly Kumalo. Now, firstly, with the runaway phone, Geninda says that Colonel Steyn, did tell him that the runaway phone was picked up by the Muleleki Tower, and Steyn then says that this tower does service the Basotho hostel. Now, Ramasipili refers Geninda back to the record of Pinky Vithillingham, who clearly states that there are 4 towers that can service the Basotho hostel, and Mulalegi Tower is not one of them. The towers that she mentioned was Phosphorus Square, Bupang Hodzo, as well as clinics. The Muleleki Tower was the furthest tower away, and it cannot be that all these 4 towers, which are the closest towers, were not working on the day and conveniently picked up the most furthest tower of them all. Kininda. One of my highlights of the day on Wednesday was when Ramusipile touched on the issue of the picture of money that was said to have been found in accused number 3's phone, Longwe Twala's phone, as well as Kelly Kumalo's phone. Now, the one question Ramusipile asked Kininda is, when you found that there's a linkage when it comes to the pictures that were found on these 3 people, did you find out the source of the picture? The answer is no. Okay, secondly, did you actually question Kelly Kumalo as to where this photo came from? No, he didn't question Kelly Kumalo. Did you question Longwe about this picture? No, he didn't question Longwe. Did you question accused number 3? No, he didn't question accused number 3. So you're saying there's a link between suspects and the people in the house, yet you never bothered to question where those pictures actually came from? Now, Ramusipile goes into the issue of Kelly Kumalo's J50 warrant of arrest, where he questions why the warrant of arrest was not executed on Kelly Kumalo. And Kininda basically explains that he brought up all the evidence that he had, and the NPA decided they wouldn't issue the J50. Now, some of the communications that Kininda referred to in his statement in trying to motivate why he wants Kelly Kumalo to be arrested for this case as well, were read onto the record by Ramusipile, and these SMSs were as far back as 2013, which Kininda says that he believes that because of these SMSs, Kelly wanted to unalive Senzo Meyiwa. So some of the SMSs that were read onto record were basically just Kelly raving to her sister about how she's hating being in the relationship with Senzo, and how she wishes that she could get out of the relationship, or she wishes that she could just remove Senzo from her heart, and how the family is blaming her for everything, and Senzo is just a mama's boy and he just listens to his mom. So there were different types of communications that were back and forth between Zandi and Kelly, and this was the time that she was pregnant, and she was basically venting to her sister, but there isn't anything that indicates that she wants to actually kill Senzo Meyiwa, which is the reason why I think that the NPA felt that there wasn't enough evidence when it came to the J50 for Kelly Kumalo. Another issue that Ramusipile touched on was the issue of the docket 375, and they went into basically the statement A1, which is a statement by Makubo in that docket. And when he started to question Kininda about that statement, Baloyi did object to that, saying that they need to indicate whether they'd be calling Umakubo before they can actually lead any evidence on the statement. And Ramusipile then decides to leave the issue of Umakubo, which I don't understand why, because at least one of the defense counsels has indicated that they will be calling Umakubo, and it was just going to be a good thing to hear what 375 has in it, right? Now, another question Ramusipile asked was regards to the runaway phone. When Kininda took over the docket, did he actually go to Kelly Kumalo and interview her with regards to the runaway phone? And Kininda did not do that. Ramusipile also goes into one of the reasons that Kininda believed that there were intruders in the house, which was the DNA evidence. And Ramusipile then questions, the DNA expert did test the people in the house, and what were the results of those DNA samples? And he says that the DNA on the hats, does exclude all of the people that were in the house. And then he then questions him as to what the DNA says about the 5 accused before the court. And he says that, well, there are certain portions of DNA that were picking up the accused, which means that it is enough. And I'm just like, Kininda, it's either you don't listen or you're purposely just trying to act stupid, because with DNA, there will be certain factors that will be a match because of the sex gene, right? So the fact that you are a male, you will have certain characteristics picking up that you are a male, so they will be a match. Hence why all of the accused, when it came to the DNA sample on the head, they had certain characters on certain I think they call them chromosomes. So regardless of the fact that I was never at the scene, if it's said that a female was at the scene, there will be certain chromosomes or XX chromosomes that will be picked up for a female gene. So I would partly have a part that will match that DNA. I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah. Ransipili then touches on the issue of the identikit, where he says that, there was an identikit that was formulated or that was made, and then Ntanzi, you told Ntanzi that you see a resemblance in the identikit and himself. And then Gininda goes on this little rant where he talks about Makaleni and how Makaleni said that the person that he saw outside the house was plus minus 25 years of age. So Makaleni is now an expert in age determination. And then he also says that Makaleni said that the person he saw was about 1.8 meters. So Makaleni's evidence is now fact. Kininda, come on. They go more into detail with regards to Amanda Steenkamp's statement, and Amanda Steenkamp is the lady who compiled the identikit, where she refers to the people that actually came to give the descriptions to her. She talks about Tumelo, she talks about Zandi, she talks about Kelly, she talks about Longwe, and this Makaleni character. I'm gonna go into now the details of what Makaleni told Amanda Steenkamp when it comes to the people that he saw outside the house of the Kumalo residence. He says that he saw 3 gentlemen outside the Kumalo residence, one of them wearing a black hoodie. He was tall, about 1.8 meters tall, and he had a gold tooth. Now, guys, first of all, it was at night, and this person that you say that you saw, he does say that he saw them running from the Kumalo household. And how is it that you're seeing a person running and you see a gold tooth and you see all these details when the people that were in the house in a lit room could not identify any of these characteristics? Now, Ramsipili touches on the fact that Makaleni is actually the only person that gave a description of the second alleged suspect, because the people in the house were unable to give a description. Then Kininda says, yeah, they might not have been able to give a description to Steenkamp or according to Steenkamp, but they did give statements. Which is crazy business, because how can you give a statement describing a person that you say that you saw, but when you go to the person who's meant to draw a drawing of what you saw, you're unable to describe them? Please make it make sense. So Ramsipil is like, so Makaleni as a passerby was able to see dreadlocks on the second suspect as well as a gold tooth when the people in the house were unable to see that. Dodge. They then touch on the issue that Ntanzi was taken to Dr. Tlokwe, who did check whether he had a gold tooth, and Dr. Tlokwe does confirm that Ntanzi never had a gold tooth. So how is it that you have the right people when you're saying that the second suspect had a gold tooth and dreadlocks, and it is already proven that he has never had a gold tooth? Before the end of the day on Wednesday, there was an issue of the map of the crime scene and the surrounding areas. And there was a debate as to whether this map can be used, because this map was allegedly taken from the case 375. When we adjourned on Wednesday, the judge then said that the defense and the state needs to have a discussion as to whether they will allow these photos to be handed up as an exhibit. On Thursday, the 14th of November, Baloyi then indicates that Ramusipili no longer wants to talk about the pictures, and the main reason why Ramusipili actually wanted to discuss the pictures is because the court had asked whether there were pictures of the actual environment and the crime scene and the park in which it is alleged that the people ran to, and Baloyi had indicated that the pictures were not available on that day, however made them available to the defense and forgot to give them to the judge. Baloyi came with arguments already prepared and giving the defense a warning with regards to using statements of people that have not come to testify, and they should indicate whether those people actually will be called by the defense. And in response to that, Ramusipile does say that firstly, the statement that he referred to was a statement of Steenkamp and not Makaleni as the state alleged, and Steenkamp is a person that they will be calling calling as the defense to actually testify in their case. One thing about accused number 2, he will talk for himself. So once Maloyi actually says this about the statements and says that you cannot be reading statements of people that haven't testified, and Danzi calls Ramusipili and then points out that this seems to be something that's one-sided because the state itself has been referring to statements of people that haven't testified. Example 1, Absalom Zungu, and example 2, this Makaleni, who we now know is deceased. Mshololo then indicates that she herself will be using the map that Ramusipili decided not to use, as well as other witnesses that the state has not used. She will definitely be calling them, but she will have a list of those witnesses once the state is finished with her case, and she will provide that list to Kininda for Kininda to make those witnesses available to them. Ramusipili continues with his cross-examination on Thursday and touches on the statement of Untabiseng as well as her testimony in the court with regards to the people that she says she saw. Now, Untabiseng says that she did see a gentleman with dreadlocks running, but before the gentleman with dreadlocks, she had seen a gentleman running after the first shot, and Ukininda then alleges that this could have been Undanzi because Undanzi said that he ran out after the first shot. And then Tabseng says she didn't get a proper look at the first person that ran after the first shot because she saw him when he had already passed the vehicle that they were sitting at. Now, after the second shot was fired, she says that 2 gentlemen were running, and she says that one of the gentlemen was wearing a hoodie and was lean in his body, as well as taller than the one with the dreadlocks. So now Kininda insinuates that the person that was running after the second shot was accused number 3 as well as accused number 4, because Ntanzi's confession says that accused number 4 ran back into the house when he ran out. Now, the issue with this is that now it's been said that the person that Ntabseng saw was wearing a hoodie, and Kininda is now referring to the person with the hoodie as accused number 4, and he even goes as far as saying we don't have knowledge of what the other accused were wearing on the day. So now it no longer points Untanzi as the person with the hoodie, but there's another person at the crime scene who was also wearing a hoodie. It now raises doubt in the fact that Ntanzi was the one that was in the house. Now, my concern when it comes to Kininda's explanation as to who the people that were running were is the evidence before the court actually states that there were more than 3 people running, right? Because Ntanzi's confession says that Moses Biya was at the gate, right? It also says Mapisa was on lookout by the window, and then Ntanzi and Carlos were inside the house, which means that there were 4 suspects at the Kumalo residence. Now, inside the house, there was Umtoko, there was Ulongwe, there was Utumelo, there was Ukeli, there was Senzo, there was Uzandi, no Kumalo. But they all say that when the intruders ran in, Ulongwe ran out. So now my question is, if Longwe was the first person who ran, why did Sbiya and Mapisa let him run? And if they did, okay, in fact, allow him to run out, then when the first shot was fired, Ntanzi ran. What happened to Sbiya? And then when the second shot was fired, then Carlos and Mapisa ran. What happened to Sbiya? Because we know that Mtogo also ran and jumped the wall, because a witness did see someone jumping the wall as well. So there should have been at least 6 people that were running from the Kumalo household at this point, but we only make reference to 3. Why? Another thing Ramusipili touches on is the issue of Mr. Mbata, who was a person that was arrested closer to the time of the incident, who an ID parade was done, and Mrs. Kumalo pointed out Umbata as being the first intruder. Now, Umbata was later released, but the fact is, looking at accused number 3's body and Umbata's body, those bodies are completely different. Yes, they might have both had dreadlocks, but accused number 3 is slightly smaller, and Umbata, as we did see, is slightly bigger in body build, you know. So it raises the question, do these people actually really know who entered that house? And also, if there was an ID parade that was done for Umbata, Ramusipili questions, why was there no ID parade done for Untanzi? And the response that he gets from Ukininda is that Mtoko and Tumelo said that they were unable to identify the second intruder, so they wouldn't be able to do the parade. And then he goes on to say, no, they were 50-50. I mean, Gininda, being 50-50 about a situation says there's uncertainty. So you wouldn't be able to identify. The same Kumalo who said, I was clearly able to see accused number 2 because I punched him, was not able to do an ID parade. 2 was unable to compile an identikit. Come on now. Ramsipili then asked about the reenactment that was done in 2016 that Zandi referred to, and Gininda says he is aware of that reenactment, and Ramsipili then requests for the CD so that they're able to view what was being done at the crime scene when this reenactment was shot. Danzi then puts a version that on the 17th of June, when he was at the boardroom with Gininda, there was a picture that was shown to him. He says that this picture was of a sedan, and there was a gentleman wearing blue with a cap, and Gininda said that that was Undanzi. So Undanzi does deny that that is him in the picture. And he also goes as far as saying that he was asked to take off his clothes so that they can check tattoos, as well as the issue of the gold tooth. Now, when Gininda is asked about this picture, he says that he couldn't have had the picture in 2020 because Mabasa did downloads on accused number 3's phone only in August of 2020, and that was 3 months after Ndanzi's arrest. Now, I have a problem with this because accused number 3 was arrested in 2015 for a Cleveland case, and there were section 205s as well as downloads that were done on his phone then. So why is it that Mabasa has a statement that he's saying he did downloads on accused number 3's phone in 2020? Because those downloads were done, I think, in 2015. And also another thing, why would you be doing downloads on a case that's closed? Because accused number 3's case, the Cleveland case, he was arrested in 2015 in February, and the case was closed, or the docket was closed on the 27th of July in 2017. Now, this is according to Umjali's evidence, who was the gentleman who was responsible for the SAP 13 in Cleveland. He says that the case was closed or completed on the 27th of July of 2017, yet Gininda is saying that the downloads were only done in 2020. There's no way. Ramsipili then questions Gininda about the alteration that he requested Steenkamp to do on the identikit. And Gininda says, no, it's not that I asked for, I just asked her to compare. Now, there's a difference between comparison and altering, Gininda. If you're comparing pictures, you put one this side, you put one this side, and you compare. You specifically asked Steenkamp to alter and add dreadlocks and add a hoodie on Danzi's ID picture. That is alteration. Now, a very interesting thing that Ramsipili touches on is the issue of the statements of the people that were in the house as well as their identikit. Now, for the longest time, I've been thinking that the identikit was done the day after the incident. But when it comes to the statement of Steenkamp here, it is proven that the identikit was actually done on the 29th of October in 2014, and the statements of the witnesses in the house was actually done on the 27th, which is the day after the incident. Now, what is interesting about this is the fact that the people in the house wrote statements on the 27th, the day after the incident, and they were saying they are able to describe the second suspects and so forth and so forth. 2 days later, when they go to Steenkamp, and Steenkamp is now asking them to describe the second suspects, none of them are able to explain or describe the second suspects. Now, it just comes to show that these people really either didn't see a second suspect, or then there never was a second suspect. Because if you're unable, you're saying in your statement, you'll be able to tell what this person looks like. And yet when a person who's meant to draw the person that you say you're able to describe, you can't describe the person to them. Please make it make sense. Please make it make sense. Another issue they touch on is the issue of Absalom Zungu. Now, the craziest thing about Gininda is that he seems to forget what he said in the trial within the trial. When cross-examined by Umgomezulu, Gininda clearly said that what linked the accused to this case is his source. The source being Zungu, the constable. But today, when he's asked about, is it the sources that linked you to this? And he says, no, it's not the source. It is Absalom Zungu. Now, Absalom Zungu has not testified before the court. However, Ramsipili indicates that he does intend on calling him, so therefore he would like to read his statement onto the record. When he reads the statement, it's hearsay on hearsay on hearsay, because Absalom in his statement says he was approached by Umbexeni Ntanzi, who says that he was fighting with Umapisa. So basically, not Umapisa, Umafika, sorry. So now it's basically Mbexeni telling Absalom about something that happened, and Absalom was never there, right? Which is hearsay evidence. So basically, the accused were arrested on hearsay evidence, because now Kininda is telling us that Zungu only made his statement in 2023, which means he only knew of Zungu's involvement in 2023. So why were the accused arrested? Because it was hearsay evidence. You never went to Mbexeni. You don't have a statement from Mbexeni corroborating what Absalom has told you, but the accused are arrested. Come on now. Now, the funniest thing about Absalom Zungu's statement is that he mentions that Muzi Sbiya, accused number 1, also had dreadlocks that he had cut. Can you see how this is just a mess, a wishy-wishy? It's like, it's a mess, guys. It's a mess, honestly. So now accused number 1 had dreads, accused number 2 had dreads, accused number 3 had dreads. Who had dreads at this point? Okay, accused number 3 is not disputed, but the other 2, come on. Now Ramsipili goes back to the evidence of Constable Zungu, and he says, Kininda, when Zungu came to testify here, he said that the only reason why you needed to see his father is so that you can confirm next of kin. And that is what Zungu told us in court. He said that he had told Kininda about what he knew, and in order for Kininda to confirm that Zungu indeed knew accused 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, needed his father to confirm that. That's when Kininda actually went to his father. But according to Kininda, no, that was never the case, which means that Kininda is clearly saying that Zungu came to court and lied. Those were the proceedings for Thursday, and today being Friday, the 15th of November, I must say I was not impressed with Ramusipili today. I was not impressed one bit. We now get new evidence from Mukininda saying that Zungu's statement is not the only statement that implicates the accused in this case, but he also has statements from Makosonge as well as Gwabini Zungu, which is crazy business because we're at the end of our case and only now do we find out that there are other people that implicate the accused. Come on now. Why weren't they led? Why didn't they come to testify? Now, Ramsipili touches on the issue that the accused were arrested in 2020 and Zungu's statement only came in 2023. So how is it that Zungu can make a statement in 2023, but the accused are arrested in 2020? And Kininda's response is that, well, there are statements as well from Usimpiwe, who implicated accused number 3 and 4. This is new evidence, Usimpiwe Buthelezi, as well as another gentleman from Rustenburg that he couldn't even say his name that also implicated accused number 4. This case is becoming more and more stressful by the day. To be quite honest, it's becoming more stressful by the day. We're at the end of the state's case and we're hearing new things right at the end. Ramusipili reminds the state that they had said that they would be calling Uli Shabani because he then asked Ukininda with regards to the incident Yasekluakop where Makubo, Lishabani and Sbiya were there with Zungu when he told them about this little story of his. Kininda does say that he was aware of the meeting and he's also aware of the meeting with Makubo and Buthelezi as well. And Ramusipili then asks, the state had indicated that they will be calling Ulishabane, but now they're saying they're at the end of their case and they haven't called Ulishabane, so they want to know what's going on with that so that the defense can know whether they can call Ulishabane or not. But he does say that he consulted with Ulishabane and he's indicating that he will no longer be using Ulishabane in his case. It's going to be interesting. Some of the things that Ramsipile touched on today were the issues of the Nongoma docket, which is a docket that is closed and has Qiniselani Buthelezi in prison serving time for this docket. Now, Kininda says that Qiniselani wasn't the only person of interest in that case, but I mean, the case is closed. The docket is closed. What do you mean he wasn't the only person of interest? And if Untanzi was indeed a person of interest in that case, why has he not appeared before a court with regards to this particular case? It's going to be interesting how they swing this Nongoma case issue, but Ramsipili indicated that they had an agreement adjourned early today at 1 o'clock, and therefore the court was adjourned early. And it's really getting frustrating to me that it seems like the defense and the state and everyone in that court does not want to work on a Friday. Fridays is always early adjournment, and if it's not early adjournment, there's gonna be something in guys that will cause proceedings to delay. And already we know that Ukininda will be writing next week, so we're already gonna have those delays next week. Let's get this party rolling. Let's get this thing finished. Like, why do you want to adjourn early on a Friday? But anyway, those were the proceedings for the week. I'm very frustrated with the progress that they're making, and I feel like they're giving Gininda in more time. They're not pressing him hard enough with this cross-examination. But yeah, it is what it is. I will see you guys next week in my next video. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Bye.